When you go into prison, what is it like?
Yeah, I mean, I had someone beaten to death in front of me with a lock in a sock. I mean, it's like, you can't believe it.
And you can't do anything.
No, you mustn't do anything. You absolutely mustn't. I start to realise the gravity of the situation.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Riordan Maynard, and I'm in great company.
Why did you go to prison?
One of my companies ran up a very big tax bill with the IRS.
What were the charges against you?
Interfering with the IRS's ability to do its job, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and then lots related to the healthcare plan and the 401k.
Wow. Did you ever have to fight anyone in prison?
I got into a real pickle with a couple of guys. These guys are massive. They moved me by moving themselves into a corner, and they said,
I want to understand the mental resilience.
didn't think I was going to make it.
Suicidal?
Yeah, completely suicidal. Because there's no hope at all.
Do you talk to anyone in there about it?
No, you mustn't show weakness.
Do lots of people take their own life in prison?
Yeah, all the time.
Because it's just
Yeah, it's not
hopelessness.
uncommon at all. Yeah, I mean, you can sort of see them going.
Do people, friends, close people turn their backs on you when something like this happens? Do you still write letters?
I can tell you. Well, I'm not now,
Uh-huh.
but whilst I was away,
Uh-huh.
I've never written so many letters. I mean, I wrote every day for at least 2 hours, or maybe 3 hours.
Did you
writing
really?
letters? Yeah, long. I mean, some of them are mental. I mean, some of them are completely deranged, and
What do you
because
mean?
I would write to my mum and my wife, and totally out of character as well, because I'm not very emotional as a person. Well, I wasn't, and now I am. Well, no, I don't know whether I am now, but I definitely became more emotional while I was in the clink.
If you have 2 hours a day to write, is that how you want to spend your time because you want to keep your mind distracted?
Partially, yeah. Prison really is a test of the mind, really, I think, because it's I mean, it's just it's quite difficult to articulate what it's like, because it's, especially for someone like me, because I mean, I've come from a very normal place,
Yeah.
lovely upbringing, and I have an amazing family, and I had a really successful business. So to then be thrown into this sort of alternative universe was quite something. But the biggest enemy in prison is boredom, I think. I mean, there's lots of stuff. You've got a lot of violence, loads. It's very edgy. All the time it's edgy. And there's, of course, all sorts of characters. You have lovely people and you have awful people, like life,
Yeah.
I suppose. It's like
Yeah.
a microcosm of life.
Yeah.
But but boredom's the biggest problem. And so you have to try and fill. I mean, I made the decision when I went in. I wasn't particularly successful in the first few months at this quest, but I made the decision when I went in that I would make the best of every day, every single day. That was I wanted really to come out much better than when I went in, and that would fuck the US Department of Justice. Because if I came out a shambles, they'd have won, wouldn't they?
Sure.
But if I came out loads better in every way, whether that was from a fitness perspective or mentally or emotionally or spiritually, whatever, any dimension, then I'd have won, I think. And I think after the first few months were brutal. I mean, crushingly difficult.
I want to get into every little detail of this.
Let's go.
But
Go
I
on
think
then.
in order to understand where this all happened, we sort of have to
yeah,
go back a
that's
little
true,
bit
yeah.
before.
Yeah,
So
okay,
I don't quite want to jump into bed with you before we've had some foreplay. Is
Okay,
that
well, I don't mind. These days, I'll just jump in. But
Okay.
let's go with the foreplay.
Where did you grow up?
Just south of London, in Lingfield, in Surrey.
Mum, dad,
Yeah.
together?
My father, unfortunately, he died while I was in prison, which was very sad. But they stayed together. Yeah, I mean, incredibly successful marriage and very happy. I had the most amazing childhood. I mean, there's nothing I can blame.
You can't.
I've got
You
no-
can't-
I
you've
can
got
only
nothing.
blame one person. It's not my mum. It's not my dad. It's me. I am responsible for this situation. So, yeah.
Affluent, you know.
Yeah, I think I mean, not very affluent, but very comfortable. You know, never want for anything. My father was a successful business guy. I left school very early, so I left at 16. As soon as I could, I hated school, and I was shit at it as well. So I got out as quickly as I could, and I really wanted to get a job. That's all I wanted to do was get a job. So I went and got a job. I left school at 16, got a job.
Doing what?
Just an office junior running around the city with envelopes mainly, and people telling me what to do. You know, make me a coffee or fill my parking meter. That was my favorite one. Fill your own fucking parking meter. But that I wasn't very good at taking orders. But so I got my job and.
Because you were driven by money, or why didn't you like school? Because
I hate being told what to do.
Same. You were gonna sing to so many people in this because being told what to do and hating that, which I did as well. Also, I imagine you're obviously clearly incredibly charismatic, so you must have been popular. This is how I charm you.
I'm not very good at compliments.
Okay, well, this is how I charm you into it.
Okay.
But you must have been...
Thanks very much, Jamie. Yeah, no, so tell me more. Yeah.
But big family.
Yes.
You know, you must...
Middle child, that's important.
So you're competitive.
Yeah, and desperate for recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I going to end up in prison because you're singing everything?
Well, you've got to be careful. Well, let me just give you one piece of advice. Pay your tax. That would be my singular piece of advice.
So you then get this job. You leave school 16.
Yeah.
You decide I'm going to go into the world. You go and get these jobs.
Yeah.
And you're working in the city. What are you doing?
It's a property company. So I wasn't working in the city like a finance person,
okay.
But it was a property, like a chartered surveyor's. And I was genuine office junior and I was running around. And then very quickly, they let me do some office viewings. I mean, I'm only like 16 and a half or something. And they let me do these. What the people must have thought, I don't know. So I'm wandering around these big warehouses in EC1, in like Shoreditch, Old Street Roundabout, which used to be like a bomb site. Now it's like very fancy. But so I'd show them these buildings around there. And anyway, I did some deals, you know, quite quick. And that's what I loved. That's when I just absolutely loved doing deals. Then someone said to me, "Oh, if you're going to get on in this business, you've got to go to college and do a chartered surveyor's." I said, "Oh, how long is that going to take?" And they said, 3 or 4 years. I said, "You fucking nuts. There's no way I'm wasting 3 or 4 years." So then I went into residential, you know, state agency.
Well, because it was quicker.
Yeah, and you didn't need any qualifications. And so that was when I was about 17 or 18. And that was just stupendous. I mean, the market was on fire. And
this has been the 90s.
Not the 90s, no,
80s?
88?
Year I was born.
Something like that.
Okay.
But the market was, so I mean, like a 4-year-old could have sold houses. So I did really well. And then then there was an enormous crash.
Yeah.
If you remember. Well, you won't. But and it all got rather difficult, you know, hard. And so then that's when me and my best friends got involved in this mobile phone business. We took over this mobile phone business in Fulham. We started flogging mobile phones when they were very expensive.
Was it the same time as who started Car Phone Warehouse?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. Don't go comparing me to him.
What is
Dunstan? He's slightly more successful, I think. Well,
and David Ross. And was it David Ross?
And David Ross, yeah.
Selling houses, you like making deals. It's kind of interesting. You know it. Everyone typically has a house. So then you move into mobile phones. You're thinking, well, this is what everyone wants. Everyone's going to need one of these, probably. So you're quite...
I don't know whether that gives the impression I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but does anyone really know?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I loved was just selling. I love selling. I love the interaction. I like the deal and the product. I really liked mobile phone. I still like them, strangely enough. Gadgets, gimmick, you know, like electronic gadgets. But I'm not particularly technical.
But driven by making money?
I don't think I am. I mean, I don't really know. I just like the deal. And I also love, as the company, well, that company, we fell out with the guy who provided us with the money to buy it. And so that was quite short-lived, but we did well in that time. And we started shipping phones into China through Hong Kong, and there was all sorts of really interesting stuff from a little shop in Fulham, and then we decided, myself and my friend decided to set up our own thing, pure, and asked my father to come and help us because he was financial and operation. He really understood money. Well, clearly, I don't understand. I mean, it all happened to me. So even at 56, I don't understand money. But the three of us set this company up called Touchbase. And
can I just quickly ask a question on that? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, right, which I would sort of consider myself one, are typically quite creative and probably not very good at the detail and typically not very analytical. And do you think that businesses live or die by having someone in it who is financially sound?
100%. I mean, absolutely. I mean, let me tell you, from experience, that's important. Yeah, you need someone who is annoying. Who they annoy you, and they just annoy me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. Okay, and so then you start up Touchbase.
Yes.
What happens next?
Well, we were based in Wapping, in a flat in Wapping. So we just cold called tons of people from that flat. And we started winning these fantastic accounts like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. Because, of course, the market's not established. It's not like you think of it now. It wasn't established. And so it was new. And so you could go in, and if you had a good pitch, and our pitch was very good, we were very focused on service. And lots of the providers were very transactional. No one was really doing business to business. So that's what we decided to do. And that's what we enjoyed.
And just very quickly, when you say cell cover, you're selling to businesses mobile phone.
Yeah.
Mobile phones, basically.
Basically, yeah. At the time they were very expensive. They're like massive.
Huge.
Or they're suitcases, or you put them in the car. It's totally different.
And what do they cost?
About 15, funnily enough, not dissimilar to now.
Really?
About 1,500 quid. But you remember they then became free before the iPhone sort of changed the game. But they were 1,500 to maybe 3.5 grand. Then we took on this. We did a deal with AT&T, which is the big US telecoms company. I mean, like it's the BT of America. They wanted to bring their telephone system, so not mobile, but the telephone system in the, you don't really have them now, but everyone used to have a telephone system. And they wanted to bring their enterprise level, which is like mega technology, sort of mega size, to the UK. And we said, all right, we'll have a go. So we became like one of 2 or 3 early partners of theirs.
Still working with your dad at this point?
Yeah. We're all there. And there was about probably 10 employees by then, doing a few $100,000 a year.
Not bad.
Yeah, it was all right.
That's probably what, £1 million now?
Yeah.
Something
probably, like yeah. So we take this product on, and it just goes fucking out of control, because it's basically like the US, all of the US companies use AT&T. And all of the US companies that are in the UK want someone to help them with their phone system. And so you can imagine the scale of that, squeezing into a little market like the UK, and then an even smaller distribution channel, which is like 3 or 4 partners. It went off the fucking charts. And so it just grew, went all over Europe, all over the US, all over Asia Pacific.
What was your turnover?
100 million, I think, $200 million, something like that. Yeah. And loads of people everywhere. I mean, the whole thing was completely out of control in a positive way.
Yeah. We've met through a mutual friend who introduced us to each other.
Yes, yeah.
And we jumped on, we said, well, let's have a call. And we had a call with each other. And to be honest, I sort of fell in love with your energy and your
thanks very much.
I did. I thought you were just amazing in your sort of attitude towards life. But I caveat that with, you went to prison.
I did, yeah.
And when anyone ever says that, you go, well, why did that happen?
Yeah.
So I ask you the question. Why did you go to prison?
Well, technically, I went to prison because one of my companies ran up a very big tax bill with the IRS in America.
Who are the IRS?
The Internal Revenue Service, like the Inland Revenue in the UK. And it ran up that bill by using tax money for cash flow. When the global financial crisis came in 2008, 2009, Touchbase lost about $100 million worth of deals in about 3 days.
And your turnover at the moment with Touchbase was about $100 to $200 million.
Like that, yeah.
So you lost half the business.
But it was growing like 30% a quarter. I mean, it was just stratospheric. And then this global financial crisis came and everything froze, because in those situations, people freeze their expenditure. Every company, you just freeze it. And for us, that was catastrophic, because I had got way carried away I thought I was some sort of business god. It's like some sort of, here comes Midas. And so I'm, setting up offices everywhere. I've got fucking people, I mean, I was totally out of control.
In an arrogant way?
Yes. Yeah, terrible. Yeah, but I don't think I was ever nasty arrogant.
You thought you were untouchable.
I definitely think I was amazing. I thought I was amazing. Yeah. And
when you say everything was out of control, give me some examples of what that means.
It's just like a frenetic pace of existence that you can't, I mean, it's just like relentless. Like I would go to Sydney for lunch, then I might go to Singapore. I mean, I would, everyone within every company was completely worked to death. I mean, it's like,
wow.
I mean, it was like a relentless, but it was not negative.
No.
It was extraordinarily uplifting. I mean,
and exciting.
Yeah, and everyone was excited, and the clients were really happy, and yeah, it was a very good business. I mean, it was a fantastic business.
Were you sleeping much?
No, I mean, my life was ghastly looking back.
But you enjoyed it.
At the time, I did. Yeah, but there was a lot of. Well, it's difficult now because you sort of think, well, was that worth it? because and I was working constantly. I mean, like every day, all day, all night, traveling every week. My poor wife, I mean, seriously.
Kids?
Yeah, I've got 5 children. Never really there. I don't think, I mean, she would have to tell you and they would have to tell you. I don't think I was a bad husband or a bad father when I was there. I think I was, I don't know. I don't think I was particularly well engaged.
You were just focused.
I was very stressed a lot of the time, especially when it started to go pear-shaped. But you get caught up in the hubris. You start to think you're really
start to believe
successful. You think your decisions are amazing, and
you started to believe the hype. As soon as you think you're cool, that's the moment you're not.
Yeah, you're absolutely, and that's basically what happened. And so then this massive contraction occurred, and we had no money. And we started with 5,000 quid. So I was like the cash flow king. I mean, I am the well, until the IRS froze the old cash flow, and then it didn't quite work quite so well. But that's how we built the company, on cash flow. So of course, when you take the cash flow out, which is what losing these deals did, it's like immediately. I mean, everything went tits up. So that's the point at which we had to start selling things off. And then we closed some bits. And then I kept the US because I was living in the US at the time, and I wanted to try and get that back to health. But it did have a big tax liability. And we did well over the next few years, but we never overcame that liability. And eventually the IRS said, well, they didn't say, the IRS acted. They have immense power, the IRS in America, much more than our tax services. They don't have any.
It's equivalent to the HMRC here, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So they put liens on the accounts. They then swept the accounts.
What does that mean?
They took all the money out. So they just took it
Because you owed money?
Yeah.
How much money did you owe?
About $5 million.
Which would have been around that time. Maybe you could double it. So maybe
Probably,
10.
yeah. Yeah. But what's bizarre in all of it is that my communication with the IRS was constant. I mean, I was constantly communicating with them. And our deal flow would have supported the repayment of the IRS. But they didn't want that. They just wanted to draw a line under it. So they took the money out of the accounts, they froze the accounts, and the biggest killer, because at that stage I was just funneling money in to pay the bills, to pay the people, to pay the, funnel it. They're funneling it out, I'm funneling it in. And they're taking it, I'm funneling it in. And it was like a game. And that's what I got in trouble for, because I was moving money around. And because I was putting it in. I didn't want them taking mine, which I wanted to pay the people with, and the overheads. I didn't want them taking it to their tax. So I started moving it around, and then that's when they got upset. And then they wrote to the clients, and that finished the company.
What you were doing, was it illegal?
Well, clearly, I mean, I've just been fucking brilliant. Thank you, Jamie, for your well,
the only reason
no, I know why you asked it. I know why you asked it.
Well, can I'm going to say, yeah. I ask it because you went to court.
Yes.
And you pleaded not guilty.
I did, yeah. And I still say I'm not guilty, yeah.
But then that's confusing because you say what you were doing was illegal.
Well, why I laughed at that is because technically it is illegal. They couldn't do me for tax evasion because we were fully disclosing our situation. We were in constant conversation with them. I mean, in fact, I did a settlement deal with them. I said, on the basis that we agree this, I said I would take $1 million of the debt personally. Would you agree not to take matters any further? And they said, yeah, okay, deal done. And then some guy, I think, this is me surmising, must have gone to the files and thought, oh, I need to find some case, to make my name with or to have a go at or justify my existence. And they found mine. And a year later, they arrested me. They turned up at the house,
Wait, Hank, so you're living where?
In Denver.
Colorado?
Yeah, in Colorado, yeah.
With your family, with your kids?
Yeah.
What time is it?
6:30 in the morning. And then they come and knock on the door. But funnily enough, I was at Starbucks. So I got a little bit of a forward warning. So they swung by Starbucks to pick me up. That was amusing. But they have all the guns and it's a ghastly process because it really of course personally it's upsetting, but for the children, whoever comes up with these brilliant ideas about how to arrest people for this type of crime, they're imbeciles because it has a very significant impact on children seeing, these men with guns, and they're all aggressive. They're such dicks, to be honest. They're absolutely, seriously, I don't know what's happened to them in their life, but that arrest was very upsetting. The way in which they did it, because I had never not attended a meeting with the IRS or the Department of Justice or the Department of Labor. I had never tried to hide from the situation ever, not once. And so to do that, I just thought it was just overkill, idiots. But anyway, so they arrested me. Yeah, it was, yeah. And just totally awful. It's just like sort of crushing.
Can't believe it's happening.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah. Because if they'd done it a year earlier, I could have believed it. Because it was messy. The end of Touchbase was messy. People, because they froze all the assets and the company couldn't pay its 401k, which is like a pension plan. It couldn't pay its healthcare, which in America is fundamental. And so it was really messy. And that's what they engineered my criminal case into, which was a pension, healthcare, tax, fraud case.
You You have a 7-day trial, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you get found not guilty. Oh, you get
No.
found, sorry.
Thanks very much.
You get found guilty.
I do get found guilty, yeah.
You go to prison.
Yeah.
In America. Did the judge say anything to you when you find your hearing and you're standing there? Look, we've all seen movies and TV shows. Is it similar to that where you're standing there?
Very similar.
So what happens? It's the 7th day. You're about to hear the hearing.
Well, the trial process is brutal because it's basically, I had a shit lawyer. I mean, really farcical, because I couldn't afford a lawyer. So they gave me one. And of course, they're employed by the court. So it doesn't feel like they defend you. So you essentially have the prosecution viscerating you for days. I mean, full on. By the end of the trial, you genuinely believe you are the worst person in the world that has ever existed, and that no one could ever want to spend 1 second with you ever again, and that your life is I mean, I can't articulate well enough how awful you feel because of what they say about you and how they skew your motives and the things that you've done, and they get people to talk against you. I mean, the Department of Justice in America is an extraordinarily powerful and manipulative organization. Once they decide they want you, you're fucked. I mean, frankly, one of the biggest mistakes I made is not to settle, because I don't believe you asked this question about how can I say I was not guilty if I did what they said. I did do what they said, but none of it was, there's this thing called mens rea, which is a Latin term, which means that you act with guilty intent. My intent was always to protect the company, make it successful, repay its bills, pay its people, all that sort of stuff. And that's why I pleaded not guilty using the mens rea defense, which is quite common, because I thought I was not guilty. And I said to my lawyer, I'm not settling. Why would a not guilty guy settle? But when I got to prison, they said to me, did you go to trial? I said, yeah. They all looked at me like I was mental. I mean, full on.
People in prison?
Yeah. You never go to trial. No one ever goes to trial because they win 96.8% or something, 97% of their cases. The whole system is, I mean, we don't need a discussion about the US justice system because it won't be very constructive. But
so can you tell me, what were the charges against you?
I'm probably going to get these wrong because I actually haven't looked, but they upset me a bit too much. But
I get that.
Interfering with the IRS's ability to do its job, which technically is true because I was moving money around out of their reach. Conspiracy to defraud the United States. That's my favorite one. Sounds very grand, because they argued that myself and my finance director had planned to defraud, to move the money around so that they couldn't get it, which technically is correct. But there was no conspiracy. It's such a stupid term. I mean, we weren't conspiring to defraud anyone. And then lots related to the healthcare plan and the 401k, the pension plan. Those were the most upsetting. The tax one I don't care about. I mean, we fucked up with the tax. That's the way it is. Lots of people do it. The healthcare and the pension one are very upsetting for me because they involve the people of the company, and some people did lose money, and that's upsetting. And I'm quite light-hearted about some aspects of this journey, but that I take very seriously, and I'm obviously very sorry for it, and I continue to feel very, very bad, and my mission is to get to a point where I can start repaying some of these people, not the IRS.
When you go into prison, what is it like?
Well, I went through the trial, then the sentencing was extraordinary because on the way to the on the way to the court, I said to Tara, who's my wife, my long-suffering.
She's put up with a lot.
Oh my God, yeah, Christ.
That's got to be
She's
soulmates, right?
Remarkable. I mean,
I can't wait to meet her.
She's just absolutely ridiculously remarkable.
Slightly non-existent husband at the beginning, then goes to prison.
Well, and still non-existent. I mean, she's in Colorado. She doesn't live here. Really? It's like, I don't blame her. I mean, so we're on the way to the sentencing. I said, she's not going to put me in. I'm not going to be put in prison. They'll give me a suspended sentence. At worst, they'll give me home detention. Genuinely, that was I could not conceive how anyone could put someone in prison for what they did me for. Anyway, so to get to the court, stand up in front of this judge. I mean, clearly she hated me, which is a shame because usually I'm very good with women, but she really hated me. And whatever happened, she said, no, I did my statement. You know, I said, I'm genuinely, I was very sorry.
And you're nervous?
Very nervous. Yeah. I mean, yeah, very nervous.
More nervous than you can ever possibly even explain.
Yeah. Although don't forget, I thought I was going home.
You thought you were going home, yeah. So you thought you were going home with a tag on your foot and that was going to be it. Okay.
At worst.
Wow.
And she said, I came in yesterday, this was a Monday. She said, I came in yesterday, which was her Sunday, especially to consider this case. And blah, 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 blah. I've decided to be lenient. So I'm thinking, fucking great. Maybe not even a suspended sentence. She said, I'm going to give you 72 months. And I thought, are you out of your mind? I mean, an armed robber who goes into a bank and takes the money with a gun might get 4.5 years. 5 years? This is 6.5 years. Anyway, so I that was crushing, of course. But then the IRS guy came up to me and said, he was all happy with himself, of course. And he said, don't worry, you'll be in a camp. It's like going to a holiday camp. And it's just down the road from your house. So I thought, all right, not too bad. So that was shocking, the 6.5 years. Then you get a couple of weeks. They let you go. You walk out and you go home. Yeah, it's a weird system. Because which I was very grateful for, because the alternative is that from the day they arrest you, you are in county jail, which is very rough. Mm. And that would have been like a year earlier. So they let me go home and I was allowed to self-surrender. So they said, within a few weeks, someone will call you and tell you where to surrender. And the judge said, you'll be in a place near your family. Oh, and they fined me $5 million. So I said, I've got 5 children, a wife, completely dependent on me. The IRS has taken all my money. You're going to put me somewhere, and you fine me $5 million. You're going to put me somewhere where I can't earn 1 cent for 6.5 years. It's mental. She said, we don't want the money. We just need to make an example of you. And so that was the sentencing. And then
Can I ask a question? When you go home for those 2 weeks and you have to say goodbye to your family and all these different things, to speak to your friends,
that was ghastly, yeah.
Is there any part of you which gets tempted to run for it?
Yeah, for every part of you. I mean, I considered that a lot. And Tara said, if you want to go, go. You know, and
wow.
You know, yeah, why not? I mean,
did you plan?
No, I don't think. To be honest, I must be delusional. I mean, there's something in my character, which is how it must be a coping mechanism or something. It's a mental trick that, because the minute I was sentenced, I get the 6.5 years, I immediately then think, okay, I'll be out in a year. I'll get the appeal going.
Well, I'm similar to that. I always think that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I do the same thing with lots of stuff. Oh, I'll be right. I'll get through that, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the only way. Otherwise, how can you, because you can't
comprehend.
Yeah, you can't process it.
Yeah.
And so I did think about running, and even while I was in prison, most of the time I thought, "Fuck, I should have really done a runner." But to now, I'm really pleased I didn't.
Because where would you have gone?
Yeah, and wherever I went, they would go.
And you would look over your shoulder for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
and then it would be triple
horrific. Yeah,
horrific.
Yeah,
and living in fear for the rest of your life. Yeah, that's a really sort of short-term goal for a long-term existence.
Agreed. Also, it was incredibly good for me, prison. I mean, I'm not being like some idiot. It was the one thing that was brutal was the family side. Because what I was going to tell you is what happened was none of those predictions about location became true. Because I was an immigrant, they put me in a prison in California, which was okay. It was all right, an immigrant's prison, but 1,000 miles from Tara and the children. And then they put me in a really rough place in Pennsylvania. Was it? Yeah, Pennsylvania. And then they moved me to a super rough place in another part of Pennsylvania. And then I ended up in this sort of mid-rough. But at all times I was away from Tara and the children, so I didn't see them for 4 years. And because COVID came, then they couldn't visit. And then Tara and I decided it's too much. You know, why do they want to come and see you in front of a screen?
Wow.
Hello, I haven't seen you for a couple of years. Oh, you look, haven't you grown? It's like fucking poor things. So
what the fuck? Just you mentioned before that so you're in California. How old are you at that point?
When I go in, 50.
You're
exactly 50. Yeah, I just had my 50th birthday. Yeah.
And 10 years before, you're having your 40th birthday in Singapore.
And I was like living it up.
And then suddenly
I'd never thought of it like
10
that.
years
Thanks,
later,
Jamie.
Don't worry about it. Just really let it sink in.
Feeling good.
Really good. But hang on, you said the first 2 months was brutal.
Oh my God.
But just give me to the mental space and like that kind of thing. What happens to the mind, to the body, to the person, to the everything, to the soul?
Well, firstly, they had set my expectations wrong, and that was bad because they had told me I was going to go to a camp and that I'd be near the children and Tara. So that was a bad start. And so I learned that I'm going to be in California in an immigrant prison and not in a camp. I'm not allowed in a camp because I'm an immigrant and there are no fences in camps. Camps are basically camps. They're quite nice. Your children can come and have a barbecue. You know, it's actually, they're not bad. And so that's a bad start. So I get to the prison and the other thing that I'm a avid smoker. My whole life I've smoked. And so I have my last cigarette and I haven't smoked since. And that's one of the greatest gifts the IRS gave me. But I put it out feeling strangely okay.
Quite interested?
Yeah, I don't know where I was mentally, but I was straight. I was all right. And then I go in to the prison, through the reception, through the metal detector, strip naked, get washed down like the films, just like the films.
With the hose?
Yeah, with the hose, yeah. And then they put the jumpsuit on you. It's all just like the movies. And then they put you in a holding cell. And you can be in I was in the holding cell for about 3 hours. And that was the worst. That was when I was hyperventilating. Then I suddenly realized I was in prison. That was the first time. Before that, I don't know where I was, frankly.
No, you're not. You're too optimistic to even comprehend it.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on in my brain, but I suddenly realized I wasn't coming out for a long time. And that was hard. And then that was when they also told me I wasn't going in a camp. That was also hard because I'm going to a proper, like a grown-up's prison. And I have not got a clue about what's going on with prison. So I get in, just to give you an example, they give me all my gear. You have to walk across the courtyard. everyone's looking at you and they're making noise. You're walking across with all your gear. And
oh my God.
I get into the unit, the block, get to the bed, and I'm shitting myself. I'm full on shitting myself. Because you just don't know you just don't know.
You're thinking Shawshank Redemption.
Yes,
You're thinking.
I can think someone's going to shag me. It's like, Christ, what's going to happen next? Oh, keep your pants on. So, so this guy comes up to me, and I don't know.
You're in a cell by yourself?
No. In this prison, it was open. It was semi-open, so it's sort of little breeze block cells, but they were open at the top. And there's about 150 people, maybe more, all sleeping together in this room. And I mean, I haven't got a clue what's going on. I go in, get in my bunk. I got the shittiest bunk because you're new. And in an immigrant prison, I'm nothing because I'm English. They're full of Mexicans. It's run by Mexicans, as they would be, because they're the predominant immigrant race in America. And so I get in the bunk. This guy comes up to me, and I'm scared. I don't know. Do you talk to people? Don't you talk to? I don't know anything. I've got no etiquette. I don't know what the rules are. So this guy comes up to me. And he goes, "Who do you run with?" I said, "I haven't been running yet." He said, No. He said, "What car are you in?" I said, "What?" He said, "What? Oh, what group are you? What group are you with?" I said, "I haven't decided yet. I'm going to have a look around, see which group." I genuinely said, he's looking at me like I'm fucking mental. I mean, he's like, can't compute. Anyway, it transpires that what he wants to know is whether I'm with the white supremacists or whether I'm with the Crips or the Bloods or the Paisans they have all these gangs. I mean, there's just gang after. That's how it runs. The whole system runs on gangs. I said to him, "I haven't got a clue." I said, "I don't want to be in a gang." He said, "You haven't got an option. You've got to be in a gang."
I'm going to start my own.
I said, so I actually quite successfully in that prison avoided being in a gang.
So you didn't go into a gang?
No, because, well, I was sort of part of this thing called the others, which was really nice. It was all of the others who weren't particularly well represented. So I was in the minority for once in my life.
What was your handshake? Did you have a secret handshake?
No, there was no secret handshake, but we had little meetings. We did. They were lovely. I must say, one of the things about prison that's quite interesting is how well organized it is.
Really?
At an inmate level, not at an operational level. Actually, I think the American prisons are run very well. I think because it's a massive organization, as you can imagine.
American prisons are also privately owned.
Yeah.
So all the inmates are the customers.
That's true.
Which is
some are privately owned, some are state.
Okay.
Some are federally owned.
Okay.
But you're right.
Which seems counterproductive.
Yeah, it's odd. The private ones are odd because it's profit. It's for profit.
So more people you have in prison, the more profit you're making.
Unfortunately, they don't want you to leave. I can tell you that. They absolutely don't want. And if you leave, they want you to come back. So, so that.
What was your role in the gang?
Well, nothing really in that one.
Did you ever have to fight anyone in prison?
No.
Never?
I got into a real pickle with a couple of guys. One of the problems I've got is I have no tolerance, especially for rudeness. I mean, disrespect and rudeness, forget it. I mean, you'd think that a little chap like me, who hasn't had a fight since he was at school, would keep his mouth shut. But I can't keep my mouth shut. So there was this guy sitting on a bunk, sort of 3 or 4 bunks from me, all day. He would go on and on about his life. You know, he's just shouting and talking loudly and making everyone listen to his business all day. I'm not joking, all day. So a few days went by, and I think it was a Sunday or something, and I went up to him. I said, look, you're going to have to shut the fuck up because you're driving me insane. And also, no one in this place wants to know your business. We don't want to know what's going on. You have your conversation with whoever you're having the conversation. I'll have my conversation with whoever I'm having. We don't need to hear about your life. Anyway, I went off. I completely fucking lost it. And then I walked off. And then I was at the time we were on lockdown, and I was in a dormitory environment, and the only way you could get exercise was to walk around, mindless, walk around the beds. So I continued to walk around the beds. Anyway, this guy with his mate, and these guys are massive. They come up to me, push, not physically, but they move me by moving themselves into a corner. And they said, no one tells us what to do in our prison. And I said, I'm terribly sorry. I'm new. I don't know any of the rules. All I know is that you look much too intelligent to think that it's acceptable to be shouting around. If all 140 of us shout all day. Anyway, I went on, calmed them down, but they were really going to beat the shit out of me. And the one that I challenged said at the end, you know, I'm in here for murder, don't you? I can't control my temper. I said, actually, I didn't know that, but it's good to know. Thanks. And then off they went, and it calmed down. That was my most. And then there were other instances where my gang had, you would. Not mine, the one that I was
the others.
In.
No,
this is later.
Oh, because you're in a new gang.
Oh, I had to go into the whites. When you go into a proper place, wow. You have to go into your race.
Really?
Yeah. It's all very race.
Wait, hang on. So you then get moved. This is in Pennsylvania?
No. So then I'm in California. So in California, I had experienced this terrible despair.
Yeah.
I mean, proper
depression, anxiety.
Yeah, extraordinary. And I've never had that before. So it was quite. I mean, in retrospect, quite valuable. And then
Can I ask just a really awful question before do lots of people take their own life in prison?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Because it's just
it's not uncommon at all. Yeah, I mean, you can sort of see them going, but you can't do much about it. You become very mercenary. Nothing really phases you.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I had someone beaten to death in front of me with a lock in a sock. Yeah. I mean, it's like, you can't believe it. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's surreal. I can't even process that I was in there. But yeah, so you become very...
And you can't do anything?
No, you mustn't do anything. You absolutely mustn't.
Why?
Because it conflicts with lots of rules. They have all sorts of rules about fighting and which frankly all make sense.
Explain that to me.
You're organized into gangs they call them cars, people that you ride with. That's why they call it a car.
So it's like school when you get put into houses.
Basically, yeah. It's very similar. And it organizes itself. It's a bit like Lord of the Flies. It basically organizes itself with the toughest at the top and the weakest at the bottom. That's how it works.
Is it done on toughest?
Yeah, I mean, or I suppose most influential.
Okay.
And so you're in the gangs, and then there's two options. You either, if I wanted to fight you, I can have a fight with you, 1-to-1. But if anyone else gets involved, like if one of your mates from your gang helps you, then it becomes a group affair. And so there's quite a lot of one-off fights. There's not many all-in fights.
Wow, so there are rules.
Yeah, loads of rules. You can't believe how many rules. I mean, and that's how it runs, because the guards...
It is quite smartly done.
It's very, very good, yeah. And that's one of the things when you get to know it that makes it doable. because the unknowns gently disappear and you start to feel a bit more in control.
So when this person is beaten next to you with a lock and a sock.
Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah.
That is brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, that was absolutely brutal. I mean, blood everywhere. I mean, it was really nasty.
And the guy dies.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was horrible.
Does that scar does that not, or do you just, it's
you're sort of,
you sort of put it into a box and just go, well, that was just prison.
I think you're what do they call it? The disassociation?
You disassociate yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what you do. You must do, because it doesn't affect me at all.
Wow. Because it's sort of like, interesting enough, it's like it's sort of the animal kingdom in a way. It's like leopards attacking.
No, but that is what it is, like that. I mean, that's what unfettered, uncontrolled human is like, I think. Humans are like, I think. I mean, I don't know.
You know, the thing about prison, which you sort of always think, is that, like, that first night.
Yeah.
And it's like, I recently rewatched Shawshank Redemption. That's why I bring it up. And
yeah,
the inmates,
it's quite accurate, that.
The inmates,
I mean, it's old, but
yeah, the inmates make bets on who's going to cry out first, or make noises first, or scream first, or call for their mum first. And it's quite a harrowing scene. And then the guards come in and beat them up, and it's a bit all. Any of that realistic?
Yeah, very realistic. Yeah, you feel. Well, there are lots of people who are suffering badly in prison, mentally. Lots. It is a serious problem.
Over 50% of people incarcerated have a head injury, apparently.
Is that right?
In the UK, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, because that leads to constant noise in the environment, because they're not well mentally. I mean, they're genuinely not well, and nothing is done about it. I mean, they're literally just left to. So that's why you do get that type of environment with lots of awful noises. I mean, it's a bit like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest all the time. But that was very difficult to deal with. But the first night's terrible, and then it just gets progressively worse until you. So that's my experience.
But explain why, because mentally you start to break down.
You start to realize the gravity. I start to realize the gravity of the situation. And I found for the first time, because I've always been very good at converting situations to my advantage mentally. This was the first time that wasn't working. I was just mentally spiraling into just doom scenarios. I mean, relentless doom scenarios, all about Tara and the children. Because to me, that was really the only thing. The other stuff, it doesn't really matter, does it?
No, you suddenly realize what matters in life.
Yeah. And then you get the most crushing guilt, and then you get extraordinary anxiety from the environment, because it's so edgy.
What do you mean by edgy?
It's always just about to kick off. I mean, there's going to be a fight, or someone's going to get pissed off with someone else, or there's going to be a gang fighting another gang, or it's constant. It's 24/7, relentless. So,
and when you spoke about hopelessness.
Yeah, and that's when I became hopeless, because and later I worked out why, which is that I had basically my whole life I've had a very clear picture of what I want to achieve at any given time. It's not always. It's not been constant, but I've always had a really, really clear vision of why I'm here, what I'm trying to do. Why am I going to? This is why I was saying to you earlier. Why am I going to work? Why am I working 20 hours a day? Where is it going? What am I trying to achieve? All this. So my future was very clear, and so for the first time, it was the opposite. My future was not very compelling. I couldn't see how I could possibly get even to do another week, let alone another 6.5 years. And I could tell how upset Tara was. I mean, she was mortified. We've been together since she was 19 and I was 26 or something. Yeah, so it's just a horrible situation. That's what's so terrible about I don't dispute that if I've done something wrong, I should be punished, 100%. But the punishment really, of course, it was quite difficult for me, but the punishment is really on the family. It's not really on the person who did the deed.
Because you're just sitting thinking they have to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to live a life. They've got to, on their own. And, you know, all the support system's gone. And, I mean, I've got my laundry, I get fed. I mean, I can read books. I read 450 books while I was in there. I mean, who gets to read 450 books when they're 50? No one. So it is all a bit skewed, the system.
Was there any shame for Tara having a husband in prison?
Yeah, shocking. I mean, that's ghastly. And for the children, they're bullied and brutal. Yeah, I mean, that's why they're so amazing. I mean, they are genuinely amazing. All the children are incredible. Tara's remarkable. And that's what is terrible about the situation, is their experience, not mine, really.
Do you think that's the only thing that makes you emotional when you really think about it?
Yeah, don't push me too much, because I know what you're doing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, very emotional. I mean, what is remarkable is my relationship with them now, which is brilliant. I think, you know, they may have a different opinion of that, but based on the circumstances, we get on amazingly well. And, you know, from all myself and all the children and Tara, we get on incredibly well. It's a very positive relationship. And even in prison, it was very positive.
How do you cope? I want to understand the mental resilience.
Oh, yeah. So this is, well, that tracks back to the very start when I lost the plot. I mean, properly didn't think I was going to make it. Completely suicidal. Because there's no hope at all.
Do you talk to anyone in there about it?
No, you mustn't show weakness at all. You must never show weakness. Otherwise you're going to get... No, you mustn't show weakness. If
you show weakness, what happens?
Well, you get dominated in some form. Hopefully not sexually, but there's a lot of sex that goes on. Yeah, you mustn't ever show weakness. For instance, if someone wanted to take your food, you couldn't allow that, because then you'd never eat.
So how do you resist that? Just say you're not having it?
Yeah, I just say you're not having it, yeah. And then you just wait. See what happens. But if you've got the front, they're usually quite...
They back down.
Yeah, usually. Well, in my case, they did. But latterly, I learned how to get alliances, you know, with people.
So you're hopeless.
Oh, yeah. So I'm in this hopeless... I mean, and then suddenly I realized, well, you've got... Your only option is either to go or sort yourself out. And so then I decided to sort myself out. And so I then started I started reading a lot of self-development books. And then I came across this book called Mind is the Master, which is actually about 20 different books, all put into one by this one guy, written in like the 1920s. I can't remember his name. They're really sort of mental development. I don't like to call them tricks, because they're not, mechanisms.
James Allen.
Yeah, James Allen, yeah. And then my brother sent me a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, who is very famous for being a concentration camp inmate. And his observations, he then turned into this book. And then he did, I think he might have been a psychiatrist before he even became a prisoner. But on his release, he then developed a whole system of psychiatry, which was based on the basic principle that whatever the way in which you interpret what you experience determines what you experience. Does that make sense? And that really changed my life, really.
But explain that deeper to me.
Well, it basically means that the way that you interpret events determines the impact those events will have on you.
Give me a scenario.
Well, I'm in prison, and it's shit. You know, it's really bad.
Yeah.
And I can wallow in that. Or I can think to myself, actually, what 56-year-old, actually I wasn't 56 at the time, what 50-year-old man gets all this time to themselves, to develop themselves, to get super fit, to read 450 books, to learn things that I need to know, I want to know about finance. I spent loads of time learning about finance because that was the bit that fucked me.
Yeah.
My lack of knowledge and interest in finance. And so I start to think of this spell in prison as a gift, a genuine gift. And also, the guy who went into prison was a dick. Not a full-on dick. I mean, I don't want to comment, but he thought he was quite special. And it turns out he wasn't actually that special at all. So there's all this scope for improvement, and that doesn't negate all the negatives, with the family and everything. But I then started to really get into this idea that actually I've got 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years, depending on what they wanted to do with the 6.5 they gave me, to completely transform myself. Who else is going to get that? I mean, you won't get that.
No, and it's an amazing realization to have that.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
But can I just understand the mind here? Do you think we have control over the mind?
100%. 1,000%. That was the biggest realization I had, yeah.
So the moments that we have, which when we feel maybe anxious or scared or depressed about situations, and look, I understand there are some chemical imbalances.
I can't talk about anything to do with medicine.
But situational issues, when you think you can mentally flip that in your mind.
100%. I absolutely categoric. They put me in a high maximum security prison, which was fucking brutal. And when I arrived, there's blood on the floor of the cell. And the guy in the cell is there. He's killed his previous cellmate. And he's waiting to be shipped. And they put me in the bed above him. And it's middle of the night. I've just been on Con Air. You know Nicolas Cage, that film, Con Air. So
You've been on Con Air?
Yeah. That is mental. And so I get into this. It's middle of the night. They put me in this place. And I said, what are you doing? You put me in this. I said, yeah, it'll be gone. It'll be gone. And I'm shitting myself. And immediately I told myself, this is an amazing opportunity to test my mental strength and my resilience. I'm going to get an enormous amount out of this. My attitude changed immediately. I was embracing it. It's like, I'll have it. Bring it on. And so that's one of my big, if I have a mission in life, it is to help, or at least to show people that it is possible to change the way that you think. And that's the biggest realization I had. Because I had beaten myself through the trial and through those initial months in prison, I'd really programmed myself to think I was an awful person, awful father, awful husband, awful son, awful businessman, everything's awful. You are the worst of the worst. So that was my programming. I had programmed myself to think that way. And so over the course of the next however long, I then started this process, which I've now built into a program, but which completely changed the way I think.
And you can coach this?
100%, yeah. It's but it takes a lot of work. That's the problem.
Always, everything does.
Yeah. There's nothing new in what I'm talking about. There's lots of books. I call it brain training. And it's I don't know whether it's a bit dodgy to talk about, because it might sound a bit cult-like. But it is basically what cults do, actually. And it is actually what religions do. Mm. What you see in prison a lot are born-again Christians.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean a lot. And they are the happiest people in prison, bar none. They have no worries. They are 100% confident in themselves. And they love where they are.
I'm definitely, because I always try and reflect on me. I'm definitely in a space, I think, at the moment where I have so much going on, businesses and podcasting and radio.
You must be like out of control.
A little bit out of control, I would say. And then that can sometimes dip into moments where you don't really reflect on what you're doing. And I want to get to that place where I'm more excited. I am very excited about life. And I love life, but more be appreciative of life, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get to a space where suddenly I look back when I'm, 60, 70 and go, I was not even present.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking. And I think that comes with what you're saying, where
100%. Yeah, and I think that's true of most people. One of the things I am going to do, is try and help people plan their life more effectively, which sounds quite grand, but it's basically helping people determine what their compelling future looks like, and then putting a plan together to get to the compelling future, and then to help them practice these sort of behaviors that will develop the habits that will allow you to achieve it, and to recognize what they've already got. I mean, you're a classic example. You've started off lots of strands of activity. Some of them they might not really be in line with what you should be doing or want to be doing, or taking you to where you want to go. So you've got to sort of review. I find it amazing that in business, companies plan and visualize all the time, and then they measure all the time, and they're constantly tweaking and moving things and changing strategies. No one does that in their personal life.
No.
But it's the same principle. You've still got to have all the same things. And so that's basically what I've got this thing. I'm going to call it Mindfort, Mindfort. And I'm going to develop, I've got 2 programs I've developed. One is focused on that, which is the individual. And then the second one, which I think is also massively needed, is driving the engagement of people in companies, because it's just not there. There's not enough focus on it in business.
You have your first customer. I would love to be part of that.
I'll do it for you.
I would absolutely love to.
Mindfort program.
I would love to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Individually and for maybe business.
All right. Let's do it.
That's a deal.
I'm loving that.
Yeah, that's a deal.
Are you saying I've done a deal?
Yeah, you've done a deal.
Well, it's been worth the meeting. Thanks very much. Thanks for your time. Yeah, no,
we have to annoyingly wrap up. I mean, honestly, I could go for hours and hours and hours with you. I feel like we sort of just touched the surface, so I think we're going to have to do a part 2.
I think we should. I mean, of course, I'm very happy. I must thank you for giving me this chance.
Are you kidding me?
I've never really talked about it like this. So.
I really would like to do a part 2. Okay, so I think for the audience who are listening right now, we haven't done this before, but let us know how much you enjoy it and whether you want to hear a part 2, because I think everyone's going to love it.
It might bore them. You never know.
No, you definitely have not, because I think I'm the audience, and I'm beyond gripped. We like to end the conversation with 8 questions. What's a saying or phrase that makes you smile or cheers you up?
Well, I'm going to use one my mum sent me this morning in preparation for time with you, which was keep calm and carry on. I love that.
Best compliment anyone's ever given you?
Similar actually to what you said, but about yourself, but I love it when people say how much impact I've had on them. And genuinely, I've had the most remarkable feedback about Touchbase, because it really did produce some extraordinary people. I mean, that was our thing. So, yeah, anything to do with that.
What scares you most about yourself?
We might have to do another podcast on that one. I've got major issues. Probably. I'm relentless. If I want something, I cannot not do it. And that sounds like it's like most of those things. It's positive and negative, isn't it? But that is.
When was the last time you cried?
Funnily enough, I never cried my whole life. I cried when I got arrested. When I saw my oldest son, I had a breakdown after coming back from the trial, the court. So I only say that because it's not in my nature to cry at all, ever. And so I did then. But now I cry at the stupidest. I mean, I'm walking across that bridge from Embankment to the other side.
Yeah.
And I turned round and I saw the Houses of Parliament and London. And then I'm back in London, because I mean, it's quite emotional having been in Clink.
Wow.
And I started crying. I mean, it's really weird.
That's amazing.
But the most was when they put me on the plane. I mean, I'm weeping like a small schoolboy. I mean, the people, they must have thought, what the fuck have we got here? Because they dropped me off in my handcuffs in the plane. And then as it took off, I started crying.
On the plane back to the UK?
Yeah, because that's pure freedom. That's not, if they'd kept me in America, if they hadn't deported me, I'd have to pay $5 million. And I would have to report into probation every week. Wow. This is true freedom now.
What's something you can't let go of?
My love of luxury. Which I really hoped I would be able to. I really hoped I could become like a student traveller.
Here we go. No, I can't do it.
No way.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Probably The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
It's my wife. She absolutely is.
That's because Tara and I watched it. We used to love it. But it's really embarrassing.
Well, I've got into it now. It's quite good.
Yeah.
What turns you off?
Mess. I'm very tidy.
I'm quite tidy as well. What turns you on?
Well, all the normal stuff.
Okay.
Love women. And probably architecture. I really love architecture, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. What do you like most about yourself?
Probably my optimism. I like the fact that I've kept it. Tara says that's why I was in prison, because of my optimism, because I cannot see that it's not going to work. I'm
literally exactly the same, which can be dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, so
be careful for that.
Yeah, you need. Well, basically, my advice would just be to get some strong partner who says,
"Don't do that.
Let's not do that." And listen. I didn't listen.
Bonus one. Someone listening to this right now. What one thing would you want them to take away from this conversation? That
regardless of your situation, the way in which you interpret it will determine how much you get from it.
This has been truly fascinating.
Oh, good. I'm really pleased because I was shitting myself.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I know. Who knows how these things are going to turn out?
This was amazing.
I hope you're not just being nice.
I swear to God, that was amazing. Thank you so much. That has been amazing. I really
good.
It's been
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Amazing.